Hello everyone, Kiwi Car Talk here, and today we're going to be doing something a little different. This video will be a guide to buying car stereos. Because let's face it, you have a car, but eventually listening to FM radio grows tiresome, and CDs, and if your car's even older, finding tapes to listen to sick beats is even more tiring. So what do? You replace the stereo. So basically I'll run you through just what kind of stereos are available in the market, the accessories you're going to have to get, and things you're going to need to install. So I'll run through all of that, and also I'll show you a workaround for if your car's stereo space is a bit specific. There's a workaround for that. I'll get to it. So before you even think about buying a particular stereo, the first thing you're going to do is you're going to go down to your car, walk down, take a ruler, and measure the space that's there for the stereo. You don't want to buy something that's too big. Too small, you could do some kind of workaround, but if you buy something that's too big, well, that's kind of GG. So before you do anything, before you spend any money, grab a ruler, walk down to the car, and measure. And then, with that, you have an idea of how big you can go in terms of stereos. So that's your first step.
Okay, so just before I start this next section, I do just want to state that I'm not shilling any particular website, company, brand, etc. here. I don't make any money from this channel. It's solely for a hobby. So whatever I showed now, it's just to illustrate my points and is not to, promote anything in particular, okay? So, now that you go on and you measure the space in the stereo, you want to know, of course, buy a new stereo. So, you'll see this terms 1-din and 2-din get thrown around. So what does that mean exactly? So 1-din, something like this one here. It's Alpine, for example. So 1-din is just a small, compact little unit like this one. And the other side of the coin is a 2-din unit, like this Pioneer one here. So it's full-sized, and they usually have a screen of some sort. Now, do be aware that in some cars you can only put in a 1-din stereo. So let's take the 2004 Mitsubishi Lancer, for example. Really nice car. But as you can see, you only have space to put in a 1-din stereo. You can't put in a 2-din stereo anywhere, so be aware of that stuff. Whereas if you take this Nissan Tiida, you got a full-size stereo here, so you can put in a 2-din one. So once again, just make sure you go measure. Oh, by the way, from what I have seen, Toyota's made after sort of the early 2000s, I don't think they have a standard 2-din size. So just measure and find a stereo that meets those measurements, okay? So just be aware of that fact. So now you've decided on a stereo, and there's so many to choose from. So let's just go here, car audio, head decks. So I've sorted by position, but look, there's so many to choose from. You got this JVC one here, you got a Pioneer, Nakamichi, Fusion. You got so many brands to choose from. So, have a look, find one that you like, look it up on the internet, read reviews, and even go down to your local car AV shop and just ask around to find the technical specs. I can't go into detail here, but yeah, look, you have such a large selection. It's all up to you after you do your research, of course. So, now you've done that, there are two additional steps you need to take. One, if you're buying yourself a 1-din stereo, and you have a space for a 2-din one, you have to get yourself one of these. Okay, so I'm going to be referring to Toyota, because why? I drive a Toyota, first thing that came to mind. So you have to get yourself one of these. This is a pocket. So it literally just goes underneath or on top of your stereo. I prefer underneath, it just seems to make more sense to me. I don't know why, it just does. So this just goes along with the stereo, and it fills up the space. You can leave it, open, but that does not look aesthetic. And come on, be neat and tidy. So you get yourself one of these. If you do, just get a 1-din unit. Now, so if you get a 2-din unit, fill up the space, that's okay. You skip a step. So now you need a wiring loom. So every single stereo has a different wiring loom, and so does every single car. This is just a Pioneer, for example. Now, not all stereos will have this kind of connector, okay? So Pioneers from a certain year range will have that connector. It doesn't say what one here, but that's okay. So, see this one here? This here, now that connects into your stereo. And this here I'll come to that. So, every single car has a different kind of connector. So this is Toyota, so your connectors will plug into here. If you take Mitsubishi, it looks something like this. If you take Nissan, it looks something like that. And this is from 1987 to 1994. Every single car with every single year range has a different connector, so you've got to see what your connector looks like. I skipped that step. After you measure it, pull out the stereo, and look at the connectors and make sure you get the right connector. Otherwise, you're going to have to play a very long waiting game. So, now that we've done that part, let's just take this one here, for example. So, you see these two things here? They plug in, you plug these ones into there. And what are these? This is where the cars connectors go into. So you plug the cars connectors into here, and then you're done. If you can get yourself an X stereo brand to ISO wiring loom, you're sorted. You know, you don't have to do anything else. Just got to do that. However, if you buy sort of a more obscure stereo or a stereo of AliExpress, for example, you won't have the luxury of doing this. So you'll still get the connector that goes in the stereo. You're going to get that, don't worry. But you're going to have to get yourself just like the straight up, like the connector. And then just you'll have to like connect up to the car's connector. And I'll talk about that in the next section. So once all of that's so now, I'm going to talk to you about, well, the additional tools you're going to need, along with some tips for the installation.
Okay, so now that you've selected your car stereo, you're going to need some tools to put the two connectors together if you can't get the ISO one. Or by the way, if you're wondering where I am, I'm standing in my bedroom. That's where I am. So, assuming you didn't get the ISO fitting harness, you're going to have to connect the two harnesses together. So the one that connects to the car's plug, along with the one that connects into the stereo. So there's two options. The first one is good old soldering. So before you solder, you're going to need a heat gun and heat shrink tubing. So you take the heat shrink tubing, right, and you cut it up into little sections. So you put it into where the wire is, and then you solder everything together. Then you put the heat shrink tube like section over where it's soldered, and use a heat gun kit to make sure this shrinks. That's why it's called heat shrink. You put some heat over it, and it shrinks right down. Now, if you don't have a heat gun kit, I have seen people using lighters to do the same job. So you can either use a lighter, but if you want to be professional, use this. But yeah, heat shrink tubing is not really expensive. This cost me just like $2 or something, NZD on AliExpress. So yeah, they don't cost very much. This costs a little more. Anyway, the second option is to use crimp connectors. So with crimp connectors, you're going to need a crimping tool and the connectors themselves. So the connectors, they look like this. So one end is like this, and the other end is like this. So essentially, you put the wire through here, and then you use the tool to crush the section, and you do the same for all of the wires, and then you can just plug them in. Now that's a little cleaner than soldering. Both, I find, we've done both, and it took roughly the same time. So they take the same time, but this avoids any heat. So if you're a bit averse to heat, let's do that.
Okay, so now that you got all the wiring sorted, it's time to install your stereo. You're probably wondering, oh, Kiwi Car Talk, why aren't you on Amazon? Why are you on AliExpress? Well, as you know, I live in New Zealand, and no one on Amazon ships to New Zealand. It's so sad. You know, you can go on, have a look on Amazon, but no one's going to ship it to you. Cry every time. Oh well. So this is the next best solution. Anyway, you're going to have to get yourself these things here. No, they aren't deformed carrots. They're dashboard tools. So the one you'll be using the most here is that one in the middle. See this one? The sort of one with like these ends here? That's the dashboard prying tool. Now you're going to have to use that so you can pry out the fitting without having to without using a butter knife to scratch it, for example. If you use a butter knife, it'll look terrible. You will scratch the metal. It will not look good at all. Don't use the butter knife. So as I mentioned earlier, it could also be the case that the stereo in your car is just integrated in with the dash, and there isn't like a hole for a new stereo to be put into. So what I'm talking about is like this, for example. This is a Ford Escape. It's a Japanese model which they sell here in New Zealand. If you have a look, the stereo is just this weird thing shoved into the dash. There isn't like a hole for another stereo to go in and out of. Same story here. This is a Suzuki Swift. But look, the stereo is just integrated into the dash. At this point, you're probably thinking, oh no, I can never have sick beats now. Time to go cry. Well, wrong, because there is a solution. Da-da-da-da-da. Ta-da! Fitting kits. Or fitting frames, fitting fascia, whatever it's called. They do the job. It's what matters. Anyway, so what this does here, you see that? You just pull it out, and you put this one in place. And now, you got the hole to put the new stereo into. And you got the holes for all the buttons. Now, as you can see, yeah, this one's a darker color, and that one's a different shade. So just find one that matches the color of the dash. But yeah, that's the solution. And as for Suzuki Swift, just take it, chuck it out, and put this one in. And you get your stereo. However, for my viewers from the United States, if you have the 3rd generation Ford Taurus, and you have this thing, I'm sorry for your loss. Because there is literally nothing you can do. The stereo on this car is really bizarre. you're just going to have to accept your fate and use those little tape aux adapters. My respects. I'm sorry. Anyway, that aside, it could also be the case that like your car's one of the more higher end ones, and it has like an infotainment system. So yeah, you could probably get like a fitting kit of some sort. But the thing with those things is not only does it do your music, it also does your air conditioning and like other things. So if you pull that out, yeah, you get your sick beats in the end, but you lose a lot of functionality. You don't want that, do you? So yeah, just really be aware of that, and just make sure by pulling it out, you're not going to suddenly kill the car or anything.
That's the end of the video. I hope you've learned more about car stereos and what goes on behind the scenes when you're installing one. That's pretty much it. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.